Earlier, we had generated a transformation that allowed us to convert an incoming XML document into an SQL document with inserts, right, into applicants and all the different courses. So let's go the other way around, right? Let's see if we can export from some query that we might have made into a relational database and export and generate an equivalent XML document. So we can create a database client that's going to read the database, right, and it's going to generate an equivalent XML document. And ideally, it would be some generic XML writer, right, that would use the metadata of the table, so that we can dynamically look at the schema of the table. We can know dynamically know how many columns there are, what are their data types, the names of the columns, and so it would work with any table. So you can just point it at a table, and it would dynamically, generically create an equivalent XML document, regardless of what the schema might be. So, for instance, it would be implemented using students.xml. Since it's a very custom piece of code, we're gonna have to use the native, the low level JDBC library. We can't use JPA. JPA, it doesn't, it's way too high level. It doesn't have access to any of the low level things, such as the data types, the names of the fields. Doesn't have any of that information. So we need to use the low level JDBC. So we're going to connect to the remote database. We're going to do a query. We're going to retrieve all the student information, the student name, the graduation year, everything. We're going to extract everything. We're going to join all the tables together, student enrollment. So we're going to denormalize the whole thing, just extract everything into one big query, right? Extracting the student name, the graduation year, the title, and whatnot. Okay. Once we have that, we have the result set. We're going to pass it to a generic function that's going to write to XML. Going to write to XML. Right. We're going to pass it the result set. So it's going to iterate over the result set. It's going to generate XML. All right. So this XML writer is going to literally write to the file the element name, right, as it iterates, where the element name is whatever you pass in as an argument, student. So that's going to be the root, right? So the root is going to be student, and it's going to pass in the file writer. So everybody's going to be able to append to this file writer. So you can pass it student name, which is the student tag, and that's the S name that you pass in as an argument. Now we're going to use the low-level SQL JDBC SQL that allows you to retrieve the metadata about the table. Right, this is going to have all the field names, how many columns there are, the names of the fields, or their data types and whatnot. So we're going to iterate over that. As we iterate over the result set, we can this is the metadata. This is the metadata, and we can know how many columns we have. And as we iterate over the result set, we're going to instantiate and add an element name. So element name is what? Wait a minute. Element name. Oh, okay. Notice that the parent is going to be element name with an S at the end. See that? Right. So this is going to have a root students, and then inside it'll have just student singular. All right. So it's going to have a parent, and then you're going to have several elements in there with the same element name. So it's going to have students. And so as it iterates over the student, it's going to iterate over all the columns in the student record. As it goes, it's going to retrieve the name of the column. It's going to retrieve the value of that column. And then it's going to generate a generic column value, the column tag with the value embedded in there. So the name, so if the field was first name, last name, username, right? So it'll generate, username, first name, last name, right? The names of the tags inside of the student, right? And then we'll add the value embedded inside of that field, right? And then finally, it'll close the elements. And it'll close it with the plural at the end. So for instance, if you have the original students that we had, this would generate. We would generate the students with a plural, and then for each student, it would have an output student, and then all the fields, right, iterating over all the columns in the database. So this is going from the database, exporting it as an XML file,